Welcome back to A Misogyny. I'm your host, Hannah Blue. You're listening to episode 93, Frenemies. Recognizing a frenemy and the steps you can take to get rid of them. Well, hello, my listeners. As promised, I am back. As usual, we're just gonna sit down and talk as if I'm in your living room. We're gonna shoot the breeze and learn some things, including how to be a little healthier. But before we dive in, I'd like to clarify a statement that I made during the last episode. I said that we would be moving away from mental health and more towards pop culture. Let me clarify that. First and foremost, 21 Blue Lash was founded on advocacy. That is what we do. Advocate for the rights of people with disabilities and women's rights. That is what we have always done, and that is what we will continue to do. What I'm not about to do is sit here and talk about celebrities, what they ate, what they're wearing, who they married, who they divorced. That to me is boring. And I know that's how some people get their bag, and that's all right. They can go ahead and do that, but we're not going to do that here. Truthfully, I don't want to move away from mental health, but I'm not able to find the material I was able to find, let's say, 3 years ago. When you have an entity, and you can follow what I'm saying, you're very smart. When you have an entity that is controlling the news and controlling what stories you can find, it's difficult. It's as if you're stuck in a bubble, and I can't stand it. I can no longer find good stories about mental health. I can't find stories about female advocates. They're just not out there. What is out there in the media? Chaos. The current administration going after poor people, going after Medicaid, going after food stamps, and it's sad. And I don't want to sit here and talk about that every time I sit down to talk with you. I want to go back to the way things were. But I can't. And we're not going to worry about it, because when you sit down with me, I want you to take a break from all that. All right? So I hope I have clarified that. We're definitely going to still talk about advocacy, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But today I want to talk to you about frenemies. This is coming straight from my heart. And what perfect arena do I have than to address it with all of you? So let's get into it. What is a frenemy? A frenemy is someone who is supposed to be your friend, supposed to support you and care about you, but deep down, they really don't. They're jealous of you, envious. They don't want the best for you. And sometimes, if you let the relationship go unchecked, the consequences could be dire. For example, in the Bible, there's a story of Joseph. And since I've been a child, what I've noticed people have focused on is his coat. His coat of many colors. I guess it was supposed to be something cute that kids could identify with. But the story of Joseph is so much more deeper than that. Joseph's mother was Rachel. His father was Jacob. If you know the story of Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, you know that Jacob did not intend to marry Leah. When he came into their territory, his eyes were on Rachel, and that's who he wanted. So he asked her father if he could marry her, and the father, who was just as sneaky as Jacob, said, "Yeah, work for me 7 years and you can have her." Well, he worked those 7 years. Baby, I don't know many men that would work for a woman for 7 months, okay? But he worked for 7 years for this woman. And just when he thought he had married her and they were going to have their wedding night, he woke up the next morning to find her sister, Leah, laying beside him. Now, you can just imagine how he felt. So Rachel's father told Jacob, well, it's not the custom for the younger daughter to be married before the older. So if you work another 7 years, I'll let you have Rachel. And Jacob agreed, because that's who he wanted. He wanted Rachel, not Leah. Now, in the meantime, Jacob is married to Leah, and you can just imagine how tore up that house was, meaning You can just imagine how unloved that woman was because he didn't want her. But in the meantime, she was having babies by him. My interpretation of their marriage is Jacob looked at their sons as free labor. They tended the sheep and planted the vegetables and, did what he needed them to do. Now, if you pay attention to detail, one thing is crystal clear. Jacob obviously loved Joseph more than the sons he had with Leah, and they picked up on it. And it probably frustrated them. And that frustration grew to anger and resentment. And from resentment grew hatred and jealousy. Children at any age are very perceptive. They know when mommy and daddy has a favorite. Jacob didn't try to hide who his favorite was. He made it clear. And out of all of those negative feelings, a plan was hatched to get rid of Joseph. So, in all, Jacob worked 14 years to marry Rachel. Eventually, Jacob and Rachel had a son, Joseph. Now, in between all of that, he was having babies by the slaves of both sisters, but we're not going to get into that because it has nothing to do with what I'm about to tell you. I believe Jacob doted on Joseph because he was conceived in love, not out of duty or lust. And that's a lesson that some ladies need to learn. Never let a man tell you twice he doesn't want you. Okay? All right. Back to the story. He doted on his son. He didn't have him out there working in the fields. Joseph was well educated. He could speak different languages. His brothers couldn't. So over time, jealousy and envy started to take root. Now Joseph was blessed with a gift. He had these dreams, and he knew that God had placed a blessing and a purpose on his life, and he was happy about that. And he wanted to share that with his family. But when he shared these dreams, his brothers were not happy. And eventually things snowballed up until the point where they sold him into slavery. Now, I want you to think about slavery in the ancient times. They sold this man into slavery, knowing full well he would be tortured, maybe even killed, and they didn't care. That's how intense their hatred and jealousy of their brother was. I know some of you can imagine that. Honestly, you have jealous people in your family. So they sold him into slavery, and Jacob suffered. Rachel suffered because she never found out where her son went. She died not knowing what happened to her son. But she had bore another son, Benjamin, and by the time Benjamin had grew up and was able to travel with his brothers, Jacob had said, no, he's not going with you because he'd lost Joseph. So Benjamin had to beg his father, look, let me go with them. By this time, they had learned their lesson and they were protective of Benjamin, but it was too late. By the time they met up with Joseph again, they didn't recognize him. And God had laid out every blessing for Joseph, just as he dreamed it. But he had to go through hell and back to get there. Now, Joseph, he was like most humans. He still felt some type of way about them selling him into slavery. So he wanted to get his revenge, and he did, in a little way, before he realized it wasn't worth it. And he was the number 2 man in Egypt, so why even waste his time on them? And he forgave them. But there's a telltale lesson in that. We as a society, we have been so conditioned to overlook people, to forgive them, to turn the other cheek. Yes, that's what the Bible says, and that's what we're supposed to do, but don't get me twisted. You can forgive somebody and never speak to them again. That is forgiveness. Because if you allow people who you know don't mean you any good to remain in your life, you're going to suffer the consequences. And if you don't believe me, let's go to a story you might know. Selena Quintanilla Perez is still beloved to this day, even though she died in the 90s. She was killed by a frenemy, Yolanda Saldivar. This woman was nowhere near as beautiful as Selena was, But she had to be charismatic because she worked her way into her inner circle. And eventually she became Selena's fan club president. Well, she started stealing from Selena, stealing the money that the fans sent in to get merchandise, and the father eventually caught her. So she was supposed to turn over receipts. And that's why Selena went to that motel room, to get the receipts. You see, Yolanda was supposed to prove that she wasn't stealing from her. Well, she couldn't prove it because there were no receipts, because she had been stealing from her. And she shot Selena in the back. Now, I want you to think about what that means. She shot her in the back. That means Selena was leaving. Okay? Whatever was said in that room, only the two of them know. But she was leaving. She had no reason to shoot her in the back. But Yolanda was so jealous and angry and envious of Selena's career, of her beauty, her personality, of who she was as a whole. This girl was on the cusp of releasing an English language album. For a Tejano star, that was huge. And her star would have been as big and bright as any other star out there. I think it would have been the biggest in Tejano music. And if I'm being honest, that genre has never been the same without her. Yolanda knew that. That's the point I want to bring home to you. Your enemies can see your potential. They can see where you're going. My grandma used to say, an enemy can't get to you like a friend. What she meant by that is, an enemy will never get as close to you as a friend can to hurt you. And that's how Yolanda got to Selena. They were friends. They were close. They had pedicures together and manicures. They ate meals together. Yolanda got close to Selena's family. No one expected that this woman would kill her. Not even Selena. Selena never saw it coming. And to this day, Yolanda is not remorseful for anything she did. So what does this have to do with you? A frenemy is exactly like Yolanda Saldivar and Joseph's brothers. They don't want what's best for you. And sometimes, and I'm not being dramatic, they would rather see you dead than to have all that you have. I truly believe some people don't mind if you prosper, just as long as you don't do better than them. And some people will sit and watch you. They won't support you. They'll just watch you. That's called a monitoring spirit. You ever had somebody call, hey, just call and see how you doing? Sending you weird pictures, getting into your financial business, all that. That is a monitoring spirit. They are monitoring you to see if you're doing better than them. I think that's sick. Because if someone is blessed, I am so happy for them. I am rooting for them all the way. That's just me. I really feel that everybody can win and everybody should be eating. I don't get jealous when people are blessed. I don't know what they went through to get that blessing. So let's get back to what a frenemy is. They pretend to be your friend. They pretend to care about you. How to recognize them. Number 1, energy. Some of us have what is called discernment, where we can feel negative or positive energy coming off a person. When you feel negative energy coming from a person, it doesn't matter what they're saying. Always trust that energy, because the energy will tell you everything you need to know. There have been situations where I'm talking to somebody. I don't have to be face to face with them. I could be on the phone. I can even be on social media. And I just feel this negative, nasty energy coming from them. I trust it. I don't ignore it. So when you feel that energy, don't ignore it. That leads me to number 2. Stop making excuses for how people treat you. People treat you exactly how they want to treat you. If they're saying something foul to you, don't brush that off. Oh, that's just how they are. Oh, they didn't mean it like that. Well, maybe I am too sensitive. When you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, trust it. Don't brush it off, because they do mean what they say. People treat you how they feel about you. Let me tell you what was the last straw for me for cutting off a friend. And I mean, this is a friend that I've had since childhood. It was my daughter's birthday. You get on Facebook, you announce your kid's birthday, your birthday, everybody says happy birthday and all that. I don't really care who wishes me a happy birthday. I really don't care who wishes Isis a happy birthday, my daughter. But if you're close to me, yeah, I'm going to take it personal. So this person saw the status and liked it. Just a like. Not a heart, not a care, just a like. And that right there was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Because I started to remember all the years that we'd spent together and all the years we'd been apart, due to location and how this person had treated me. I would call them or they would call me and then act like it was just such an inconvenience to talk to me. They would sigh on the phone. And it still makes me angry to this day. I know I need to let that go, honestly. But I'm more angry at myself for allowing it to go on for so long. Because if I had cut this person off long before I became a mother, it wouldn't have spilled over to my daughter. That was ignorant. Any way you slice it, that is ignorant. If you cannot wish someone's child happy birthday, a child that you have seen in person, a child that has struggles, and you're just so flippant and ignorant and crude, And I would have cussed her out that day, but my sister said don't do it. I was at her house celebrating her birthday. We were in Ohio for a visit, and she said don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. My sister has saved a lot of people from getting cussed out, okay? A lot. But she was right. It wasn't worth it, and I just cut her off. Didn't offer any explanation because I didn't owe her one. And to this day, I don't owe her one. I don't ask how she's doing because I don't care. Because when I look back on our friendship, reciprocity didn't have a seat at the table. All right? She treated me like trash. But I digress. I've moved on. I've been blessed many times over. We're in 2 different spaces, and I don't need to look back. But yeah, people treat you exactly how they want to treat you, and don't overlook it. Number 3, and this is the most important. Never, ever be alone with a frenemy. I don't care what the situation is, because let me tell you something about a frenemy. A frenemy's main goal is to get as close to you as possible. Even if you're good friends, they want to get closer. They want to see your blessing in the flesh. Don't let them. Not without other people around, because you don't know what they're thinking. In this day and age, you don't know what people are thinking, and evil has never died. It's been around since the beginning of time. There are some people who would rather see you hurt, destitute, strung out, dead, and these are the people that are supposed to be in your corner. Guess what? They're not. I take social media with a grain of salt. What matters to me is action. And that's number 4. Pay attention to what they do. You ever heard action speaks louder than words? Let me tell you something. If they're trying to set you up, okay, let me give you an example. You go somewhere with a group of friends and they leave you stranded. Those are not your friends. Those are frenemies. Because if you came together, you should leave together. Another example. Somebody gives you a drink. It could be a soda pop, something stronger, and you find that they put something in it. That's not your friend. That's a frenemy. Let's say you get a new possession, a new house or a new car, and you're talking to this person about it, and they start getting colder and colder in their interaction. That is not your friend. That's a frenemy. Because guess what? They can't use you for their advantage. They're always saying things to put you down. Oh yeah, we look cute today, except for her, because she got to struggle a little bit more than the rest of us. Ha ha! Or she's darker than the rest of us, or she's lighter than the rest of us. You know how high yellow people think they all that. Little backhanded compliments like that. That doesn't come from a friend. That comes from a frenemy. That comes from a great pretender. There's nothing wrong with the hue of your skin. There's something wrong with the quality of their heart. Let's get that straight. So we've covered what a frenemy is, how to recognize the signs. Now I'm going to tell you what to do to get rid of them. Cut them off. That's it. There doesn't have to be a speech, a last phone call, a closure text, a closure email. Cut them off. Cold turkey. Bye. You don't need anybody like that in your life. Don't take their phone calls. Don't read their emails. Don't read their texts. Block them on everything and go about your business. That's right. Block them on everything. No access. When you learn how to choose quality, quality will find you. And I mean quality friends, quality family members, quality business relationships, quality acquaintances, all of the above. You are the prize. You don't deserve people in your life who secretly want to see you fall. We have been taught not to nurture ourselves, to put others before us. Some of us since we were children. That has to stop. You're not selfish for putting you first. It's called self-care. All right? All right. Now we're going to turn the tables and talk a little bit about our health. I found a nice little article on something I don't really care for, but the health benefits are so wonderful. I had to share it with you. It's turmeric. Now this article is from Good Housekeeping. It was written by Stefani Sassos. It is 5 evidence-based turmeric health benefits you should know about. I'm going to be very honest with you. I do not like the taste of turmeric, but I could not ignore all the health benefits this article listed, and I want to share them with you. So what's so special about it? Number 1, it can help fight inflammation. Now, as we get older, inflammation causes damage to our bodies. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Doctors identify inflammation by looking at certain biomarkers of oxidative stress. What is oxidative stress? It is the result of biological processes that can cause organ tissue damage. Yeah, it's just as bad as it sounds. Now, while some things can be done to prevent inflammation, exercise and diet, smoking or not, some of it is out of our control. It doesn't matter if you add the spice to your routine. If you're eating a poor diet, it won't help. To get a grip on inflammation, you need to be exercising regularly, eating a healthy diet, taking your supplements, and getting plenty of sleep and water. Now, for those of us with busy lifestyles, that's not always easy, especially if you have a stressful job and a hectic home environment. But adding turmeric to your routine, counting your macros, can help. Number 2, turmeric is a good pain reliever. Who knew? Some studies have linked turmeric to reduced arthritis pain, including gastrointestinal pain associated with inflammatory bowel disease. And it could help with knee osteoarthritis. A recent clinical study found that curcumin had similar results and was better tolerated than a common pain medication for people who have osteoarthritis in the knees. And now the article warns before you replace your pain medication with curcumin to speak to your doctor about it. Let's move on to number 3. Turmeric may also reduce the risk of certain chronic diseases, such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and some types of cancer. Research has also linked turmeric to a lower risk of a heart attack after bypass surgery. And curcumin plays a role in cancer prevention. Now, it's important not to focus strictly on turmeric. The idea is to have a well-balanced regimen of diet and exercise. Number 4, turmeric benefits skin. It can help with skin disorders like psoriasis, alopecia, and even acne. But scientists haven't discovered how it works, nor have they found the right dosage as to what you need. Turmeric and curcumin supplements have not been evaluated by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And if you do take it, look for third-party certifications that evaluate for quality and safety. Number 5, and this is my favorite, some research concludes that components in turmeric may fight cognitive decline. Think about Alzheimer's, Research published in the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry found that daily consumption of a specific form of curcumin improved memory and mood in people with mild age-related memory loss. Now the research is still ongoing, and the research sample was small. They only had about 40 people. Another study concluded that when turmeric is added to a meal versus taking a supplement, it can lead to a possible reduction in cognitive decline. And here's something important you need to know. Curcumin is not easily absorbed in our bodies. Here's the solution. There's an active compound in black pepper that helps to absorb the curcumin in our bodies. So, what do? Just combine the turmeric and black pepper in your meals instead of a supplement. Now here's a word of caution. Turmeric health risks and side effects. The article says the health benefits of turmeric are vast, but certain populations should avoid taking turmeric in food or supplements until they've spoken with their doctor. For example, if you are in active cancer treatment, speak with your doctor before taking turmeric because it could interfere with certain chemotherapy medications. So pay attention to the chemo meds you're taking. And always consult with your doctor before making any changes. Turmeric may also increase your risk of bleeding, especially if you're on a blood thinner, so be careful. People with gastrointestinal disorders or kidney stones should always consult with their doctor before starting turmeric supplements. And the mild side effects could be an upset stomach, dizziness, nausea, and diarrhea when taking it. Now, when we get right down to it, turmeric, when used in conjunction with exercise and a healthy diet, can reap some health benefits, but it's not a miracle. It won't override if you're going to McDonald's and Wendy's every day and you're chowing down on fatty steaks and French fries. And if you want to take it in a supplement, again, make sure it's tested by a third party for quality and safety, and consult with your doctor before taking it. Now here's a healthy little recipe that I found that I want to share with you guys before we go. It's called golden milk or turmeric latte. And the recipe says, creamy turmeric latte, also known as golden milk or turmeric milk, is a delicious warming Indian beverage. Made with hints of warming spices, you'll love this simple recipe with a handful of ingredients. And here's what you need. 2 cups of almond milk. I always keep this in my fridge. A 1/4 teaspoon of ground turmeric. A 1/2 inch of fresh ginger, or 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground ginger. 1 pinch of ground cinnamon. 1 pinch of black pepper. And a teaspoon of honey, which is optional. Other toppings are dried rose petals or ground cinnamon. Now, in a small saucepan, you're going to whisk the milk, turmeric, cinnamon, ginger, and black pepper. Bring it to a boil. Lower the heat and simmer the mixture for 5 minutes. Turn off the heat and add sweetener. Using a strainer, divide the turmeric milk into 2 cups. Now, if you want to make it frothy, use a milk frother or pour the mixture into a blender and blend it until it's frothy. Now, the turmeric will stay in your blender, so make sure you get it out with soap and water immediately. And you can substitute the honey with maple syrup or another sweetener. Now, I'm going to try that. Again, I'm not a big fan of the taste of turmeric, but with all those health benefits, I'm going to try it. Well, listeners, our time is coming to an end, but before I say goodbye, I want to let you know that I will be releasing my 11th book. It is called A Time Traveler's Tea. You can get it at www.dlhanna.com or Barnes & Noble. I don't know about Amazon, but it is available on Kobo and Apple Books. A Time Traveler's Tea has an all-black cast, and it is perfect for fans who love The Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits. There are 4 stories that have paranormal vibes, spooky aspects, and out-of-this-world themes. So if you want to check it out, you can pre-order it on my website or the other places that I told you about. But I'm very excited. I have been wanting to do a Black Twilight Zone for as long as I can remember. And now I've finally done it. And if you've bought any of my books in the past, I appreciate your support. And if this is the first one you'll be picking up, stay along for the ride and pick up my other 4 series that I have. But I dedicated this book to my little cousin Tootie. She told her mother, who also models for me for 21 Blue Lash, that she wanted to read a couple of my stories from my other series because my books are the tea. So, of course I sent them. That meant the world to me. But when I started thinking about the title of the book, I knew I wanted it to be about time travel. But I'm like, okay, what am I going to name it? I didn't want to copy anybody else's, so I thought about Tootie and I said, a time traveler's tea. And everything fell into place after that. So Tootie, I am looking forward to providing you with the first copy. And thank you for supporting me. I tell you, family like that is paved in gold. But as for you, my listeners, I love talking to you. And I wish I had more to say, but I'm out of time. If you learned anything from this episode, you know what to do. Hit that follow button. I'm on Podbean, Spotify, Samsung, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, and our 21 Blue Lash page on Facebook. If you got some frenemies in your life, now is a good time to get rid of them. I will be back with more stories. Until then, be easy, take care of yourselves, have a good weekend, and as always, God